Welcome, film fans. Thank you for joining me as I review the movie Plane. Still a stupid name, but I get why they called it that. It's directed by Jean-François Richet and starring Gerard Butler and my boy Mike Coulter, Luke Cage. He will forever be Luke Cage to me. Is this another generic Gerard action film, or is this a bumpy thrill ride? Before I get into that, let's talk about the premise. Pilot Brodie Torrance saves passengers from a lightning strike by making a risky landing on a worn-torn island, only to find that surviving the landing was just the beginning. When dangerous rebels take most of the passengers hostage, the only person Terrence can count on for help is Louis Gaspare, played by Mike Coulter, an accused murderer who the FBI was transporting. Plane is rated R for bloody violence and language. Gerard Butler is why you come to see this movie. He is so great in this film through and through as Captain Brodie Torrance. He has the distinct acting ability to make you believe in his ability to be a pilot, to be a family man that's struggling, trying to get home, and to be a total badass. But a little different because in this movie, he wasn't just knocking off people and just being a total badass and not caring. You could tell that he didn't want to kill people. He wasn't fully trained. He's not like a military man turned pilot. He's just a guy that loves to fly planes and he so happens to be brolic. But yeah, Gerard Butler did a great job of carrying the film through and through. Most of the scenes is him doing his thing. He's interacting with the supporting cast well most of the time, but the focus is on him. He made me believe in every action, emotional speech, or rising speech that he was doing. All the things that the pilot was able to do, he made me believe that this pilot could do it. It was very convincing, and it really helped the movie and get you immersed in the character itself. That's the named supporting cast guys that you may recognize from other places. Like I said, Mike Coulter's in this film. I know him from Luke Cage. I also know he has a show called Evil, which is pretty popular. He's not a dynamic actor in this film, but he does a great job of bringing the badassery and having this gentleness to this giant that can murder people easily. I really liked his demeanor and how it told a story and the little things he did throughout the movie to make you understand where he's coming from and his arc of being this mysterious FBI transported murderer to a man that's looking for redemption. Tony Goldwyn, you may know him as the president from the show Scandal, and he's been around for a long time and in other movies and shows. He's here and he brings a lot of levity to the film, and I got a lot of laughs out of my theater with certain punchlines that he did. So he was a great addition, and he really was into a lot of entertaining parts that cut the tension of this intense film. The rest of the supporting cast was pretty solid, nothing super outstanding, but they all did a good enough job to make you believe in their characters and care for their lives once the action started happening and people started getting knocked off. The first 40 minutes to an hour of this movie is some of my favorite first 40 an hour minutes of a movie I've seen in the last couple of months because it's slower than I expected for an action Gerard Butler film, but they really show you what the crews of planes go through, all the things that they have to do to make sure everything is right and no one gets hurt and everything goes proper on the flight. And that's like the whole setup, just making you believe in that this crew know what they're doing and each part they're playing is like they're actually trained for that. It's really just immerse you into the plane ride. And then when that lightning strike happens and the way they really come together to make sure that all these packages, who are freaking the hell out, of course, is safe, was really great and really convincing. That whole sequence from once they got into the storm and the lightning happens and everything was so intense because they set the stakes really early on in the film at that moment before we even land on the unknown island with the rebels and everything. So I really enjoyed them setting those stakes. So because you're like, okay, that means no one's really safe in this movie after what they did. And then once they land, it becomes this moment to moment intensity because you're like, okay, now we're stranded here. Now what do we do next? And then they meet the rebels. It's always this thing of like, okay, we're moving to the next thing that's going on. It's the pacing of the movie was done really well, and it's only clocking in about an hour and 48 minutes. And yeah, this is a Gerard Butler action film, and I gotta say the director did a great job of directing the action and making it tense, making it varied, and also not using a lot of shaky cam on the hand-to-hand combat and the shooting sequences, which a lot of action films can do, and you can't really see what's going on. He got in there tight enough so you could see the facial expressions, you could see the struggle, but not so much that it felt claustrophobic and there wasn't a lot of shaky cam. He did use shaky cam when he was in the plane to like do turbulence, which I thought was great. But overall, it was an action-packed film, especially from the midway point on, and I thought all the action was really entertaining, and and a lot of the way it incorporated into the actual story itself. Now the bad. So the story is simple. It's a really simple story. It's nothing too complicated. There's no twists or turns or anything to elevate it to like something that you've never seen before. They're the action sequences, while done really, really well, they execute them really well. They are exciting. There's nothing here you've never seen before. It's nothing that, is going to blow your mind, but it will satisfy action film fans. And I also thought that some of the characters never got really past the caricature point that they were doing in the beginning to cause some comedy. And they didn't really get to do much because the focus was so much on Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter's character. And they even focused on a little bit on the rebels and their point of view. And then they also had the office people who were trying to figure out how to get them out alive, which, in a simple story like this, I understand that. But if you're looking for a bit more, it's not going to be there. Against my verdict, the way I break down my verdict is who is this for? If you should go see it now, and then my overall feelings. Who is this for? If you're a fan of Gerard Butler as an actor and you've seen past action films that he's had, Geostorm, Greenland, the Olympus Has Fallen series that he did. It has a lot of those sensibilities, that heart that he brings to his films, and the really great action that he usually does. It's all here as well. But there was a lot of heart in this film that made me really attached to characters and fear for their safety. So I think that those things will help you re-engage in the film. Action movie that has a little bit more meat on its bones and has like a deeper story. This is not it. This is the simple thriller that has some intense action, and you can, just turn your brain off and just enjoy. If you want something a little bit more complicated, this is not going to satisfy that taste. Overall, I had a lot of fun with Plane. The crowd that I went with was oohing and eyeing and gasping and cheering at the right parts, and I think that it was a great theatrical experience because it was well lit, well directed. The CGI wasn't too terrible, and the action scenes were good. And there's like some really like crowd pleasing moments in, especially towards the end. I felt myself internally cheering because I don't want to do it too loud in the theater that I was watching it in, and I meant that I really cared and was fully engaged with the story and the characters, even though it was a simple story, just executed well. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So, this is a type of movie that, I enjoyed, and I think other people can. I do think that it's not gonna blow your mind. So if you want to wait for it on streaming, you can. But if you want to see an action movie in January where there's not a lot of great movies coming out, definitely go in the theaters and check it out. And with that said, I'm gonna give it a C plus. Like it, did you hate it? What would you rate Plane? Such a simple, weird name, but once you watch the movie, you get why they call it that. If you didn't see the movie, did my review sway you to go see it, or did it sway you the other way to let it pass on by? Let me know in the comments below all your thoughts, comments, questions, and everything. If you like my review, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, and ranking lists. I have my Last of Us episode 1 review coming soon once that comes out. I have a review for this movie called Sick coming out as well, a horror slasher film about COVID, and much more. So you can make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for that, and you watch more of my content right now.